is the fourth and last day of the Future Blockchain Summit at Dubai Harbor. I'm Ronella Hernandez, and I'm sitting here with Alan from the Gorki Network. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
How are you enjoying the conference so far? How has it been these last few days?
It's been really good. It's been really busy. Nice, really high quality of people to speak to, and some interesting projects on display, and some great connections getting made. So
yeah,
fun.
Do you tend to like to go to these types of events? Do you think they're worth it?
So yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll be honest, this is one of my first conferences where I've been purely on the attendee side. Very often in previous roles, I've been in the standing on the booths and doing the talking. It's actually quite refreshing to be approaching different people and not having to stand in one place all the time.
Yeah, any insights you've learned or any good conversations you've had that you can share with us?
Yeah, I think one of the main insights is to approach as many of the projects and benches as possible, and get an understanding from these people, like what they're doing, because it's very hard to see just from the little titles and the images what's actually happening, and often you find out that underneath some of the really basic looking stands there's a really deep project, and under some of the flashier stands there might be something that is a bit cool and kind of fun, but actually they might have a really cool social conscience. So just talking to absolutely everyone is the key, I think.
Okay, so then tell me more about what you're doing and about Gorki Network.
So Gorki Network, we're a new layer 1 blockchain, and we have just released our DevNet, and the central purpose of the Gorki Network is to create an interoperable communication layer as a layer 1 blockchain.
Okay, so how does that differentiate from other layer 1s out there?
Well, so a lot of other layer 1s focus on speed of transactions, and these transactions are typically financial type transactions. They're very small additions and subtractions from wallet balances.
Don't we want that? Don't we want speed?
Well, we do want that. We do want speed, but the thing is that if we want to get to real speed and interoperability, we need to be able to scale a network horizontally as well as vertically, to be able to add things to it that you can communicate with the old world, the Web 2 world, communicate to databases and make calls from your smart contracts that you probably couldn't do today with some of the sort of more bare metal, lightweight transaction type.
Can you talk to me a little bit more about those stages of scaling? So the different layers?
Yeah, so effectively, very often you have a layer 1 blockchain that takes care of the trust boundary. I mean, that's all the blockchain really does. It provides a trusted layer. So you don't need a third party or an intermediary. The issue with that is then from a speed and scalability point of view, you get a bottleneck. So then we add a layer 2 into the system. And the layer 2 creates a small security issue in the layer 1, because you can have backdoors and you can have things where you can roll back things, and it eliminates some of the security. And then very often you have to go to a layer 3 aspect to get to the point where you can then interact and integrate with existing systems. Because if we want to move things from Web 2 into Web 3, we need to be able to move them. We don't just cut and start again, because there's so many legacy systems out there that we just can't stop. And you need to integrate them and help them bridge into the Web 3 world.
So how do you think the industry needs to change what it's doing now to maybe have that type of shift that you're talking about? Like what's not working? What do we need to fix?
I think, to be brutally honest, what we need to fix is the scalability issue. We need to be able to scale to adopt to any kind of use case. So if we want to talk about the metaverse, gaming for instance, in the metaverse, you need to be able to move a huge amount of data around. Data is expensive in traditional layer 1s, but sometimes you don't need the data to be on chain. It can sit in a database somewhere else, but then you have to interoperate with that database.
Like pull the data?
Pull the data, integrate with it. The next stage is from a speed point of view. So you can't have a speed limit to these transactions. Having a speed limit is a race to the bottom, because effectively you're saying that's enough, that's all I'm going to use. But if we've seen anything from computers, as soon as you make one fast, there is a need to make it faster. So if we think about processors from the 90s all the way into the 2000s, they were getting faster and faster and faster, and they needed to get faster and faster and faster to keep up with the pace. So if you have a limit to your transactions, then you have a limit to your network.
Okay, got it. And so then you mentioned we need more use cases. Could you give us some examples of maybe the use cases that you would like to see?
So in terms of use cases, we're kind of exploring three things. We're looking at data and data storage on chain. So there's interesting use cases in terms of having an ability to monitor and track data in a pay-per-use kind of scenario. So instead of paying for like a massive lump of cloud storage, you pay with every file.
AWS, for example.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you pay per every file that you load, or you pay for the amount of time it's loaded on there. So I mean, my wife's always running out of storage on her phone or in her cloud for photographs.
I pay extra every month for cloud. Yeah.
And but you have to buy in like these massive chunks, right? So why not have a system where you just every time you load a photograph, you pay a very, very small amount, and it out of a subscription. And you can kind of like you do with a mobile phone. We used to do that with text messages. We used to pay per text message, and if you do that with maybe a cloud storage, you could have a more efficient use of cloud storage.
Okay. And since we're at the Future Blockchain Summit, I do have to ask, how do you envision the future of blockchain looking like? What would you like it to look like?
So it might not be very popular, but I really feel like the future of blockchain is to get to the place where you no longer really realize you're using blockchain. It's a very valuable thing, and it's a fantastic technology, but when it becomes adopted, the best thing that could happen to it is that nobody really realizes that they're using it, because ultimately it's not something that you should be focusing on, whether you're texting someone over the Ethereum blockchain, or you're using Gorki to move your photographs around, or play video games and stuff like that. It's just something that should exist, provide trust and provide security for everyone, but just work in the background. There's a lot of technology that does that, and I think that blockchain needs to get there.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I've heard this sentiment from a lot of attendees here.
Cool.
All right, thank you so much for your time today, Alan.
Thank you.